Hello and welcome to Gritty Reboot, the show where we make fun of TV's dark side. We're currently watching Riverdale, and today we'll be discussing Season 1, Episode 11.
Or not. We could talk about anything else, please.
Yeah, you went on I wouldn't call it a vacation recently, but you went out of town recently. I think even the least exciting place on Earth, which you visited, may have been better than this episode.
Yes, I'm co-host Kevin James. I'll talk about my work trip to Irvine in a second, but first, Sarah Dunaway, our third co-host. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I've been better. I had to take a week-long work trip to Irvine.
Oh, were you gone? I didn't notice.
It must have been weird having only half of the bed taken up by Junie instead of a quarter of it.
Oh, it's so cute that you think she didn't take up 2/3. No.
But yeah, so it was interesting though. Between getting sick and dealing with coworkers, I actually met the Irvine city manager. I don't know if you guys know this, but Irvine is run a lot like a business. Their city council operates like a board of directors, and they select a CEO type person called the city manager. Anyway, when he heard that we had a podcast, he said, "Let me introduce you to our marketing department." Like a business, like I said, right? Crazy. Yeah. And they wrote an ad copy for me to deliver on this podcast. So if it's okay with you guys, I guess I'll read that.
Yeah, officially sponsored by an entire city. We're moving up in the world.
Yeah, Hunter, if you could just put some inspiring music under this as I read it, I think the Irvine City Council, city manager, and marketing department would appreciate that.
Of course.
Tired of how most cities have personality, storied history, buildings with actual color? Well, come on down to Irvine, California, where we have the perfect solution for you. Nestled in the heart of Orange County, the only thing whiter than our architecture is our populace, and we're overflowing with cash from soulless corporations. We have headquarters for everyone from Amazon, the company that won't let its workers use the bathroom all day, to Taco Bell, the company that makes it impossible for you to do anything but use the bathroom all day. While you're here, frolic at the Irvine Spectrum, an expansive outdoor mall inexplicably built to resemble a mosque. You won't have to choose between mindless consumerism and thoughtless sacrilege ever again. Or take a break from staring at the lifeless brown hills that surround our city to walk the beautiful Great Park, an enormous swath of vibrant, lush, green scenery that almost certainly worsens our state's horrifying water shortages by at least an order of magnitude. So book your trip to Irvine, a business park people presumably start living in by mistake.
That's the perfect description of the city of Irvine. It's a terrible place. It's just office buildings and cookie cutter apartments.
Yeah, they were really being honest about what they have to offer. Though there was a little bit of a mistake there, Irvine actually does have a growing Asian population. It's got some diversity there.
How exciting.
Yeah.
Irvine is actually the only city in Orange County that as we're driving through, I can tell that it's Irvine. The rest of them, Kevin's like, we're in Tustin now. And I'm like, how would you know that? Irvine, suddenly the buildings, the urban sprawl looks nicer.
Yes.
Suddenly. And I'm like, aha.
Nicer
Irvine.
And blander.
Yeah, indeed.
Now that we've lost our entire audience, let's
Yes.
talk about Riverdale.
So this episode, I know I'm going to have a hard time editing because I'm worried I'm going to be over here screaming the entire time we discuss this episode because it really brought my piss to a boil. I am fit to be tied.
It was not a good episode. I'm just going to say it.
Yeah. Spoilers. This is probably getting round the board lowest episode marks from all of us.
Yes, so it's mostly just going to be me enraged. I had a rough week. I'm taking it out on the creators of Riverdale.
That's better than taking out on the creators of Irvine, California, like some people might do.
Yes. Let's see. What's good about this episode? Nothing. Got that out of the way. What's bad about it? The performances, the editing, the directing. The title even sucks. It's called To Riverdale and Back Again, which is not a Hobbit reference. Is apparently some made-for-TV Riverdale movie. It's complete crap. There's got to be a better title for this. Kevin, I think I see you put some notes in here.
Yeah, so I'm really stretching the concept of references for my suggested episode title. But you guys know the Disney Channel original movie, Wendy Wu, Homecoming Warrior, right? I mean, of course you do. All-time classic, beloved by billions. So I decided that this episode of Riverdale should be Betty's Boo, Homecoming Warrior.
The thing is, I
goodness.
only know Wendy Wu Homecoming Warrior because this is the second time you've referenced it on the podcast.
And it will not be
Yes.
the last.
I only know it because he has talked about it. It is, of course, his favorite film.
What do you guys have against Brenda Song's star-making performance as Wendy Wu?
Because I remember her as London Tipton from The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody.
Correct, yes.
See?
I still remember the quiz I gave you.
I still remember that show, okay? Sarah, do you have some alternate titles for this disaster piece?
I do, because Kevin reminded me this morning,
Oh.
knowing that I would forget again.
I taunted her that she would hate my reference, and boy, did I not disappoint.
Mine were Saturday Night Deceiver and Strictly Ball Gloom.
One of mine was just CoverGirl commercial take one because of the product placement. And then, so I wanted to reference the pop punk song Dear Maria, Count Me In, because it's by the
That's a good
band
song.
All Time Low, which this episode is an all-time low for the series. So I don't even have a title for that, but I just wanted to, again, say how much I hated this episode.
Yeah, let's just play the cultural references and get it over with.
We're gonna have fun hating this episode.
And for all we know, that gay greaser serpent is an accomplice.
Because why?
Because, Nightmare Smurfette, by all rights, it should have been Polly and Jason on that stage being crowned.
So the worm turns.
Hands off, Gollum. Yea, though I walk through the valley of darkness, and Archie Andrews is there with a smile and a sports metaphor.
I do want to point out real quick, I did not realize until I did the clipping for this episode that We're the Kids in America features one of the worst mistakes in a song I've ever heard. The line, New York to East California.
I pointed that out this morning because I was like, why is that cool? Like, where are they going?
I guess the new wave just stops at Barstow and no further.
Like,
Wait, what's the real line? Because I noted that and I was like, that's a strange line, but I've
No,
never
that's the real line.
that's the actual line in the
They
song.
covered it accurately.
Huh.
As
wow.
we all know, once you get to East California, why would you keep going?
I mean,
Great.
the only thing better than East California is East Chicago, I think.
Yeah.
First one was the gay greaser serpent. Was that a reference?
You know,
That's another Riverdale sex move.
at the time I was fighting off a cold, and I kind of still am. I'm sure our listeners can hear. So I think at the time I thought, oh, that's a Grease reference. But no, just Greasers were a 50s thing. So sorry about that.
Okay. No, I was going the same way where I was like, was that a specific reference to Grease?
No, I thought definitely Greasers.
The other thing that Jughead says of so the worm turns, I've heard that saying like once or twice. I don't actually know what it means or how to use it in conversation or where it comes from.
I don't either, honestly. I looked it up on the off chance it was more specific, but it's just like,
I believe it's from
It's an aphorism.
Ecclesiastes. With every worm, turn, turn, turn.
Speaking of Ecclesiastes, Veronica sort of quotes scripture but inserts Archie into it with the shadow of the valley of darkness.
it was forced, though not as forced as seeing teens perform We're the Kids in America, which I thought was exclusively a song used to soundtrack Nickelodeon movies.
Isn't it the opening song in Fast Times at Ridgemont High when there's sort of the montage of opening up all the stores in the mall?
I'll be honest, Hunter, I only know it from the Jimmy Neutron movie.
Which I haven't seen, so I think we're just on opposite sides of a divide here, and Sarah's the one who's gonna have to weigh in and solve this.
I have seen Fast Times at Ridgemont High, but I don't remember the intro. Don't know.
I don't know why that's
It's a mystery.
So the worm turns. Someone write in and let us know if that's the correct reference here.
I don't know. Yeah, I always thought it was like As the World Turns, which I think is just a soap opera. I didn't know that worm was part of that saying.
Yeah.
I'll just use it till it seems right.
There was also a culture reference I forgot to clip where Jughead just out of nowhere says,
Stranger Things.
real direct marketing there.
They're just reminding people of other shows that are on Netflix that you could watch instead of this. This episode, we're going to blaze right through it. 'Cause
Yes.
I don't know how many notes you guys have got.
I only got 2 pages worth. It's a real slowdown from last time.
Yeah, I only have 2 pages.
I think last time we talked about, the first half of this episode was slow, so we really want to get to this heavily loaded second half of the episode. There was no heavily loaded second half of this episode.
Yeah, the first half of this episode is slow. So let's get to the even slower second half where nothing at homecoming actually matters.
Yes. It opens with homecoming's a thing that's happening, and we get a shot of Archie in football pads. And my main question is, are we ever going to see this kid play in a football game at all?
Hopefully never.
No.
Because we built up a lot of storylines around football and Archie being on the team, but it's never paid off in a meaningful way.
I guess we can officially confirm the timeline, though, because now that we know that it's homecoming time, we can officially say, like, it is not later than October 10th in the Archieverse.
But also there was snow on the ground, which does not make sense.
When does homecoming usually happen?
The last week of September or the first week of October is what I found on Wikipedia.
And so last week we had an early winter, I guess very, very early? Like apocalyptically early.
Yeah.
Maybe they just have homecoming late in Riverdale.
Climate change is real. No, that's what it is.
And it's an alternate universe where instead of global warming, they have global cooling. That's the backdrop for this story that informs all the other choices.
It all makes sense now. I do want to point out, Jughead's opening monologue begins,
People like to say that the death of Jason Blossom changed everything.
"You say that every episode."
You're the one perpetuating this myth.
People are saying.
People are also saying Jughead's a brilliant writer.
Yeah, he wrote that incredible Untitled by Jughead Jones.
Oh, yeah. We can almost skip straight to that. Besides this, Veronica has some more family drama, which I don't care about, and no one else should either. And
Yes, let's skip all of that.
Archie talks to his mom, who is...
A terrible actress.
When did Molly Ringwald get so bad at acting? Like, wasn't...
Would you like to weigh in, Sarah? You had some choice words about that this morning.
I just don't really feel that acting was ever so much of a strength for her. Yeah. I think she's very cute and fun, but I don't find her to be an overwhelming actress.
As someone who has not really seen any of her movies, I did not expect this. She was easily the worst actor on Riverdale. I didn't know someone could like make us suddenly appreciate KJ Apa and Camila Mendez, but there you go.
We learn that Archie's mom has apparently never heard him sing before in her entire life, because she says she's really excited to hear it as though it's the first time. So I guess he never like sang in the car or the shower. Pretty weird.
Who knows? Archie makes up some quick lie about, like, I'm performing at homecoming, even though we find out later that this is not actually planned. And he doesn't have a slot to perform at homecoming.
Homecoming, by the way, planned solely by Betty. I guess there's no such thing as a homecoming committee in the Archieverse.
I can definitely confirm, though, as a public educator, that school principals are extremely passionate about dance decorations and will absolutely berate students about it at a moment's notice.
Yeah, I got really cheesed off at that scene, too, because Betty's like, hey, I'm trying to work on the school paper. I'm going to have Ethel help me out with homecoming. And Weatherby gets all up in arms, and he's like, you made a commitment. You have to hang those streamers now.
Yeah, that really annoyed me as well. Give her a break. Jeez. Why don't you go hang a streamer, Weatherby?
Yeah, he was never, like, evil before, and then all of a sudden, he seems like a complete jerk. Anyway, we're just gonna blow by a lot of this stuff. Jughead swings by the old trailer home to visit FP, and FP has unsunk his eyes. He has raised them like lifting the Titanic from the depths of the Marianas Trench. He looks like he's half human, and he's cleaned up the place.
And he's sober. Like, this is the most suspicious he's ever been.
Mm-hmm. That place is skeeky clean.
But no, he looks like a human being for once. I feel like they were doing Skeet Ulrich a disservice until here. He read Jughead's work. He questioned him very intensely about it.
Yes. Oh my god, though, I want to say, I hated that they made Jughead like the show writer's author insert character for this scene. Everything about it was so terrible. Why write about Jason Blossom? I don't know. You guys haven't bothered to think of a reason for me to do this. And Jughead spelling out that the mystery shouldn't matter is just, ugh.
To me, I don't think the question is who done it. I think the real question is whether Riverdale is a place of good or a place of darkness and evil.
Or both. Most things are both.
I also, just the thing where he's like, well, no reporter is covering this. Like, it's all on me. Like, I just do not believe that a professional reporter would not be interested in the murder of a dead rich kid with a twin who lived in the Clue Mansion. Like, there would already be a podcast about this. This doesn't make sense.
That doesn't make sense. Jughead saying, oh, like, this isn't so much of a whodunit as really an exploration of whether or not Riverdale is an evil place.
No, incorrect.
No,
I want to know who did it.
I did like FP's reaction, though, of it could be both.
We could solve the mystery, maybe. And he looks straight at the camera.
Yeah.
But then, yeah, I think they're supposed to be using this scene where he tells Jughead, like, hey, wrap this story up, move on with your life, as this thing of, oh, like, why does FP not want his son digging into the murder mystery?
Mm-hmm.
Right.
So, last episode, we had this big moment where Veronica and Archie make out for way longer than was comfortable on screen. And she sleeps in his bed, all this stuff. And then, like, right in the beginning of this episode, she's like, no, it ends there.
Though I had to appreciate, like, this new land speed record for Archie of getting dumped before he even gets together with a girl for once.
The girls are catching on to him. It's great.
I think you might be boyfriend worthy.
I agree. Let's test that theory at the homecoming dance.
Unfortunately, I don't have the bandwidth to explore anything with anyone right now.
She says he may be boyfriend worthy.
Which he is not.
He's the dumbest idiot this side of a head injury.
Her reasoning was so weird. It was like, look, I'm about to have both of my parents back in my life. I can't just, like, have a loving partner, too. This is too much.
She says, for a million reasons, we're going to have to pretend our moment never happened. I don't think she could come up with more than 2 reasons.
No, I mean, we're supposed to think it's because of Betty. Because, like, she gets the text right then. I guess there is conflict about Betty, who is in love with someone else now and won't care. Sure.
Well, keep in mind, it's, like, October 3rd. So, like, they broke up, Betty and Archie, like, 2 days ago, I think.
Approximately.
That was my thing of, like, why would Betty care at this point? She's clearly moved on and is wholly invested in her relationship with Jughead. But, so there's this scene where, since Alice is working on the school paper at the high school for plot contrivance, she calls Betty and Veronica into the blue and gold offices and says anyone who's not in this room now is a murder suspect.
Especially the Pussycats.
Honestly.
Yeah, why does she call it the Pussycats?
I don't know. Like, she just got real racist there for a sudden. I can tell that must be why Josie and the rest of the music group didn't feel comfortable being in the rest of this episode.
I mean, honestly, though, saying everyone not in this room is a murder suspect sounds like the kind of thing a murderer would say. Just saying.
I didn't understand why Alice is suddenly trusting Veronica, because from the beginning of the series, she was telling Betty, don't hang out with that girl, she's bad news. She, like, called Veronica a slut in one episode, and she has nothing but antipathy for the Lodge family. Why would she think that Veronica is super trustworthy and would turn against her dad or any of this stuff?
Are we supposed to make this make sense?
That's the thing. Like, this episode fucking pissed me off because nothing made sense. They just took any and all character development that had occurred in the previous episodes and just shredded it.
Yeah, character motivations make no sense this time around. Like, I know we're gonna, like, try and skip the Lodge family drama as much as possible, but Hermione Lodge is super stoked that her husband is coming back, and apparently just completely forgot about the fact that, like, last week she was ready to bone someone else. So, I don't get it.
Oh, he was trying to sabotage the work I'm doing and, you know, threatening Luke Perry's business, but I sure am glad he might be getting out of prison. That won't be an awkward reunion when I pick him up at the airport.
Right? I mean, Betty continues to be the most consistent. where, like Alice says here, like, why don't you grill Jughead? Which, by the way, is amazing. I really want Alice to compile a list of seemingly innocuous questions to ask my boyfriend. That sounds like a really fun game. And Betty's like, hell no, and storms away, which she stays on that track the whole episode. Good for her. I understand what she's doing and why the whole time. It's really cool. Maybe they could take that and expand it to other characters. That would be an interesting idea, perhaps.
I did like that Alice Cooper is like, look, we'll just invite your boyfriend over to my house and I'll prepare a list of innocuous questions. And I'm like, I don't think you do anything innocuous, Alice Cooper. You're about as subtle as a brick through a newspaper office window.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you like the chicken marsala? And what is it like to wash blood from your hands if you've ever done so?
But Veronica decides to help out Alice for some reason, and that leads to her deciding that she will perform with Archie at homecoming. And Archie is thrilled because he really wants to do it. Sorry, duet with Veronica. And yes, Hunter, I did steal that joke from Walk Hard, the Dewey Cox story.
That's the thing. I knew it was from somewhere because I had the same joke rattling around in my head. Oh my gosh, thank you. It feels like the 64th time that Archie has been caterwauling about who he's going to sing or perform with or something related to that.
And it's just like the Sodale drama where I'm like, just Archie, shut up. I don't care about this. Go away.
Let's see. I think before we get to that scene at the lunch tables, Betty gets a call from Polly, who's near incarcerated at the Thornhill Mansion. And she goes and she finds Cliff Blossom's wigs and sees him without his wig. And he looks so much better.
Yeah, he looks like a real person. He has an extensive wig collection. One for every mood and some imaginary moods.
I just like that it's played off like a horror scene that like he's just in a wig room like maybe this one, but the soundtrack is like he's getting ready to stab someone.
Oh, he for sure like scalped every person. Like there was a person beneath every one of those wigs.
That was the thing that I felt so strange about, where they have this scene shot to look like it's from a horror movie. And it's just Polly peering through the door. And when Cliff Blossom sees her, he like wordlessly strides forward and slams the door in her face. Like someone would do if Polly was being like a witness to a crime or something. In real life, I feel like any person would be like, hey, Polly, what are you doing over here? Are you looking for something?
Yeah, that's... I mean, I guess we can kind of just, like, get to this now, but, like, this episode did such a bad job, like, trying to build mystery about who framed FP, because the Blossoms are so obviously guilty at the end of this episode.
Yeah. So one thing that's hard to get across on the podcast is just the way the scenes were shot and edited, the way they did blocking in the scenes and had characters positioned. At times, I just felt like I didn't really know what was going on, and it felt very almost surreal, which was amplified by the fact that the story made little to no sense.
Yeah, it was rough.
Whoever the director was for this episode, I looked it up earlier, promptly forgot. It was someone who has not directed any of the previous episodes we watched, and I really hope doesn't direct any more. Ever again. I mean, I'm not backing down on this. I'm so mad at this episode.
No, that's fair. So, Cheryl approaches the Archie and Friend group and announces that she's taking Polly as her date to the dance, and they're running for co-homecoming queen, which I have several questions about.
I'm bringing Polly to the dance as my date, and we're campaigning as co-queens of homecoming court.
That's not how my school worked. Like, people nominated others for the court, which was segregated by your class in the school. Like, there was a senior court, a junior court, a sophomore court, and then people got to vote. I'm sure maybe there could be multi-gender wins now that our society's more open, but the rest, like, I don't understand how Polly and Cheryl could be eligible for the same queen position.
Wow, you took in a lot more information about how homecoming worked in high school than I did. I was just like, it's a dance. That's all I got.
My thing was, one, does Polly even go to school there? Like, she doesn't even go here.
No, she doesn't.
Didn't Cheryl learn from last episode that when it comes time to vote, no one will vote for her? After the whole dance-off thing where they didn't even want her to be, like, running the cheerleading squad.
Well, you don't understand. Since then, she's really improved her routine.
It was just... Again, the plot doesn't seem to go anywhere. Spoiler alert.
No, it ends abruptly because Polly doesn't make it to the dance, and we never find out who won Homecoming Queen.
Now I want to know. The next episode should just be all the characters that we didn't get to spend time with, and it shows how, like, Josie won Homecoming Queen, but, like, somehow let down her parents at the same time.
I would love that. But it goes to your point, like, in any other Homecoming episode, who got to be king and queen would be a focal point. Here it's just kind of completely forgotten. Like, I'm thinking about, like, the Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode.
That's honestly my only real reference to draw from.
Where Cordelia and Buffy spend the whole episode fighting over who gets to be Homecoming Queen, and then in the end they, like, make peace, like, it doesn't matter which of us wins. And then it turns out that the whole school voted for someone else because they were kind of sick of how, like, petty and vicious Buffy and Cordelia had been to each other. Oh, what a great twist.
It's a good one.
That sounds like it would have been way better. Like, you could have made a homecoming episode that focused on the homecoming dance. Instead, we have Archie, like, oh, I just wanted to wring his neck here when he starts begging Betty so that he can play at homecoming. He's just like, oh, can I play a couple songs?
Though it did give me life that all of Archie's friends describe his music as wrist-slitting inducing.
I thought I was the only one who felt that way.
Well, I don't know. I listen to a lot of really sad slit your wrist music, and I feel like Archie's is more like looking out a rainy window sad. Like, it's not that sad. Like, he's not even that good at sadness, really.
He's no Bright Eyes.
Or, like, he's no Elliott Smith. Like, let's get real.
This is like that Ed Sheeran level of sad.
Right.
Wow, that's harsh, Hunter.
It's just more like kind of pensive, you know?
Or is it thoughtful?
Or is it contemplative? It's hard to say.
So Veronica jumps in and saves him and says they're going to be doing upbeat covers. And this made me think about how they've had, as Kevin predicted, a lot of downbeat covers of upbeat songs. I want to know, like, what songs they're going to cover and make upbeat. Like, what would you want Archie to do, like, turn from a sad song into a happy song?
Jumper.
Hurt by Johnny Cash. I know it's by Nine Inch Nails, but that's not the version I was thinking
Just
of
like the entire Linkin Park catalog.
But that's kind of already upbeat-ish.
I know, but I want it to be, like, more upbeat-ish. Don't you guys want, like, a ukulele cover? And in the end, it doesn't even matter.
I would have loved if they tried something like that. Okay, I'm just calling it here. Like, one of the next shots kind of creeped me out when Veronica and Archie go into this side room and he gets really invasive with her personal space.
Yeah, that was not great.
No.
I wasn't the only one who thought that made him look like a complete creep. And it wasn't like a cute, like, oh, I want to kiss you right now.
That was honestly creepier than Cliff going through his wig collection, which was explicitly shot to be scary.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, she's trying to have a serious conversation with him, and he just keeps advancing on her. I didn't like it. Not into it.
He's kind of like looming over her and also like trying to touch her. It was gross.
The whole scene is kind of gross too, because when you think about it, Veronica's just like jumping at the chance to betray two friends and like loop a third person into it at the same time just because she knows he'll do anything for her. Like, it's not great from either of them.
And again, if that were acknowledged, if it was like, oh, Veronica's mean girl is coming out, here we go. But instead it's played off like, no, she was trying to be noble.
Because her whole scheme is, oh, I'll sing this duet with you, Archie, but you have to help me investigate Jughead's dad because Alice Cooper thinks that's a good idea.
Which is a terrible plot.
Yeah,
that's our plot for the episode.
That's not cool at all.
Oh, we've got Hermione and Molly Ringwald talking about how they had a high school rivalry in this really pointless scene, but it sets up, the really important things we have down the road.
I did like the line where Molly Ringwald's like, Fred told me he admires your chutzpah. And I was like, wow, first off, that is inappropriate for him as a coworker to be staring at my chutzpah.
Oh, see, I watched that scene like 3 times and I couldn't come up with anything for it.
It was a pretty bland scene.
I'm glad someone was able to mine comedy out of it. Instead of that, Betty is on a ladder in high heels, which is a terrible decision.
Who wears heels to school? Again, like who wears, like on a regular high school day? Like, I don't know, maybe people.
Me, all the time. I still go to high school in heels.
Yeah.
It is why I'm not allowed there very often.
I just don't. That seems like it's just such a weird choice.
It's strange. And Polly calls her and is talking about like how she's snooping around in Thornhill.
I just have to get into their bedroom.
And Mrs. Blossom brings Polly her, quote, daily milkshake.
And acts like that's just a thing that people do.
Yeah, give us this daily milkshake. Whatever. Honestly, someday I would really like to live in a mansion and have someone bring me a daily milkshake. That's my new life goal. I've decided.
It's so suspicious and obvious that, like, the first thing I wrote down when I saw it is, one of these milkshakes is drugged.
They just put it in there just so they could have that side plot later on. And Penelope, in the mass mystery of Thornhill, brings in a newly crafted Pops milkshake. Did they have it airlifted?
I think the Blossoms are actually rich enough that there's a second franchised Pops within Thornhill.
It was so weird.
Pop actually lives in the mansion basement.
It was odd. Then Penelope, in one of the worst lines in the episode, says that Polly should stay out of the East Wing, where she and Cliff have, quote, their sleeping quarters, which is how normal people refer to their bedroom.
Well, and then there's also that rose in the glass, which if the petals all fall off.
My thing is, like, they act so mysterious about it, and, like, what are they doing there? Like, painting the walls with their own excrement?
Murdering people for their red hair wigs. Obviously.
Yeah, there is so much, like, less suspicious ways to, like, talk about, like, hey, we'd appreciate if you didn't, like, barge in while we're changing.
Also, does that even need to be said? Like,
common etiquette.
Hey, try not to just randomly go into my bedroom. Like, I feel like that's kind of a given when you're a guest in someone's house.
Yeah.
Like, the less said, the better, because otherwise it's weird and I want to go in there if you keep talking about it like that.
Like, this is what I mean with, like, they do such, like, there's so much pointing to how suspicious the Blossoms are that there's basically, by the end of this episode, it's gotta be one of them, probably Cliff, because, like, they're framing him a lot more sinisterly than they're framing Penelope. It's just like there's
like,
too much
why? You
pointing to
think
him.
the serial killer wigs are like creepy in some way?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Maybe. Yeah. No, I completely agree because one of my predictions is after this episode, Cliff is the killer. But heck, what do I know? They'll pull a fast one on us. They'll throw out any and all plot development from this episode.
It was Ethel.
That's what her
I've been
dark
trying to
poetry was
keep it
about.
from you, but
that's the real twist.
I knew her poem, I shot you down by the river, meant something.
Outside of Thornhill, where people have sleeping quarters instead of bedrooms, apparently Alice invites Jughead and FP over to the Cooper home for dinner. And Jughead's really stoked on this.
Well, and I mean, Betty's deeply suspicious, which makes sense because Alice Cooper making a peach pie is maybe the most incongruous action I've seen a character perform on film. Like,
Jughead's cynicism just evaporates this episode.
Wait, I'm not done talking about the pie.
Okay.
Also, it is October, which, as we know, peak peach season. Great time to make a peach pie. This all makes perfect sense. There's no reason that she should be alarmed that her mom is doing this.
It was weird, but again, like you said, Sarah, Betty's the one consistent character, and like she's all sweet to Jughead, and I like that.
Well, you have to be. Like, he's so eager and ready. He's like, oh my goodness, dinner with your parents, unlike any other teen in existence. Especially one who has met Alice Cooper before.
Okay, so that part doesn't make sense, but I do think there is a sweet quality to him being like, maybe I could have a functioning family. It's just very misplaced because this family is not that.
Yeah, wasn't it just an episode or two ago where Betty's like, my family's falling apart, it's hanging on by a thread, my mom's attacking my father.
And he was like, you're the only sane one and you'll hold them all together. And now he's like, they're all great. I can't wait to meet them. Let's hang out.
For this not awkward dinner.
He should be a lot more suspicious than he is. Like, just like, oh, Alice Cooper, no ulterior motives there. My dad is sober this one time I saw him. Could that mean he's a completely changed person?
Oh, yeah, that's his next thing when he and Archie are about to go to bed together and they have their little pillow talk. Jughead's super stoked on his dad's new leaf, and because Archie gets suspicious since Jughead mentions that his dad actually has taken an interest in his life, Archie decides to, out of nowhere, put clothes on and run across town to Veronica's house, rather than, I don't know, like send a text message.
You know what he was really hoping for was for a booty call after a midnight shirtless run.
Yeah, I mean, she called it out like, this is not going to play out the way you think, Archie. This is not a booty call.
I wanted him to reply, because we know what Archie's intelligence is like. If it was a booty call, I would have called you. This is a booty jog.
I imagine him just like jogging in place. She opens up, if this is a booty call, no. And he just starts running off. Doesn't even say a word. Well, it's worth a shot.
That would have improved the episode immeasurably.
Yeah,
Yes.
this episode could have used some improvement, but this is a scene where I lost my shit because we go to Cheryl doing Polly's makeup, and it just opens up with a shot where it's just focused on like 5 different CoverGirl products on a table.
Oh, so upsetting. That is ridiculous. I know they're sponsored by CoverGirl or whatever, but Cheryl would obviously order from Sephora. That makes absolutely no sense.
The good thing is I've ordered my own palette of CoverGirl True Naked Jewel Tones. Not because of this episode or anything. It's, I totally knew about them before the lingering shot at the start of this scene.
There were also a lot of bad lines in this scene where Paul's like, hey.
The theme for the dance is Blast from the Past, right? So I say we go retro and borrow some of your mom's vintage bling for the night.
Ooh, you're naughty, Polly.
My soul shriveled up and just drifted away.
I wanted Cheryl to be like, yeah, it's Blast from the Past in tribute to the great Brendan Fraser movie. And prom's going to be George of the Jungle themed.
So, like, you dress up as Alicia Silverstone and I will be Brendan Fraser. It's going to be great.
Though even Polly's terrible bling line couldn't top Cheryl's lackluster delivery of, oh, Polly, you're naughty, with the least enthusiasm I've ever heard someone muster. It's like that line had physically slapped her before she had to deliver it.
I think the actors must have been hungover when they were shooting that. She has some other line in there about, like, them going to homecoming will be honoring Jason's legacy. Like, what legacy did he have? He was 17, like...
Look, you have to win Homecoming Queen in honor of your dead brother. That's just how this thing works.
Well, he obviously won Homecoming Queen his freshman year, so...
His legacy was being freakishly pale and knocking up his girlfriend. Like, what else did the kid do?
Co-humming Queen with Chuck.
Yeah. So then they decide to go looking for bling in the room I will refer to as the wigwam.
Oh, damn it, that's good.
Great.
And Cheryl reveals that she's also horny for her dad.
Who is that girl not horny for?
Or is that just old guys in general? Because she has the ultimate cringe line of like, I love a silver fox.
Gross.
Gross because it's old guys, or gross because Cheryl said it?
No, gross because it's Cheryl talking about her dad.
Yeah, like, who refers to their father as a silver fox? There's serious problems in this family.
Seriously. And they find Nana Rose's ring, and they're like, wow, so someone definitely killed Jason to take this. And yeah.
We pass over this one moment that I didn't really think about till my second watch. And yes, I did sit through this episode twice. About Cliff wearing a wig, Cheryl says, oh yeah, like, my dad's hair turned white overnight when he saw the ghost of Grandpappy Blossom with his throat slit. Does getting murdered run in their family? Well, how come?
Well, wasn't the Grandpappy the one who...
That was Great-Grandpappy did a
was...
murder of Great-Grandpappy.
Wait,
Yes,
I thought
right.
I thought she said Great-Grandpappy Cooper was the one with the throat slit.
I had to go back. I think she said Grandpappy Blossom.
I thought, yeah.
Although I did not watch the episode twice. I was not up to that.
I just assume that Cliff Blossom just dreams exclusively of people with their throat slit. So, who knows?
That was odd. So yeah, besides finding like 32 dildos and a couple of fursuits in the room, they also come across the ring and we get the Lord of the Rings reference.
Yeah. Which,
I guess, you know, with the title To Riverdale and Back Again, they did want to tie it back to Lord of the Rings.
As thinly as possible. At least it is actually about a ring, so...
Do you have anything else about this wonderful scene that we all just, you know... I just looped it back a few times just to enjoy the art.
I got nothing.
It seems like the writers didn't have anything either, and because this episode seemed so lacking, I started to do some digging, and I did come across something.
Yeah?
I think you and I have discussed back in episode 1, Cole Sprouse and his twin brother Dylan Sprouse. You quizzed me on him.
Mm-hmm.
It turns out that the writers of Riverdale wanted to bring Dylan in.
Whoa, that would really change the dynamic. That would have improved the episode,
yeah,
I think.
They had the whole script written. They were going to bring Dylan in as a new character. And Cole Sprouse apparently just threw a fit because, as we've talked about before, Dylan is the superior brother. And he said he was going to walk off the project. He had a bit of like a star meltdown. He had them throw out their entire script and rewrite it the night before shooting. And that's how we ended up with the train wreck we're discussing today.
Oh, wow.
However, I did get a couple pages from the original script that shows Dylan's introduction into the Riverdale series. And I think that we should do a cold read of this. I think I'll play the Jughead character. Sarah will play Betty. And Kevin, if you could play Dylan's character, that would be great. Exterior, woods, night. Jughead and Betty stand at the edge of the most atmospheric forest you've seen this side of a Tim Burton movie. Crickets chirp. Dead leaves float down on the wind. Betty, you know how you told me about your dark side?
Yes, almost like it just happened last episode. But why are we out in the woods at night?
It's the only place badass enough for this to happen. The fog covering the ground, the full moon.
Oh my god, are you a werewolf? I mean, you're so pale and sickly, I figured you were more of an Edward than a Jacob.
What? No, I have something to admit. Betty, I guess you could call it my dark reflection.
Jughead, you're already dark. You're the troubled, mysterious, artistic bad boy.
Betty, I think it's time you met my twin brother. From behind the trees steps the twin. His black hair flows in the night breeze. Think Chris Angel Mind Freak, circa 2006. And you have his vibe. In other words, he's the pinnacle of God's creation.
Hello, Elizabeth. It's good to meet you.
My god, he is...
darker, mysteriouser, intriguinger.
You wear mostly black, but he wears...
all black.
You take your coffee without creamer.
He drinks espresso with a shot of tar.
You write novels about true crimes.
I just got back from Cannes, where I premiered my latest documentary about an axe murderer, shot from the point of view of the killer.
That's...
intense, probably illegal. That couldn't stop me from pursuing my art.
Now do you understand, Betty? He's the dark one. He's the cool one. If we were on a Disney Channel show, I'd be the dorky twin, and he'd be...
be the cool, funny twin.
If we were both up for a Kids' Choice Award for Best TV Actor...
I'd win every time. People just like me more.
Don't you see? I've been living in his shadow all my life, and it's crushing me. The only light in my life is you, Betty. You mean everything to me, and I just wanted to Betty? Betty?
Has this feeling been inside me this whole time?
No, Betty, don't walk toward him.
Blame it on the stars that did shine at night. Whatever you do, don't put the blame on you.
No, don't quote Milli Vanilli at me. That's the universal sign of someone breaking up with their significant other.
How about it, Betty? You want to take a ride on my motorcycle? I'll take you to the meadery I'm brewmaster of.
I've never wanted anything more in my whole life.
The pair disappear into the trees, leaving Jughead with only the memory of the love that was once his. Hindsight being 2020, I don't know how I saw that going any other way.
Wow, yeah, that would have really shaken up the dynamic here.
Yeah, I wanted to have some more Dylan Sprouse going on. I mean, the two have been working together since birth. They played Ross's baby on Friends from an early age. They were both shared the role of the kid in Big Daddy.
I remember them playing the son on Friends. We were on a break Geller, the very passive-aggressively named child.
I just, you can't have Cole without Dylan, is how I've always thought of them. But, hey,
I'm glad you unearthed that. That really added a little something.
We could have had an episode like that, but hey, the writers were put in a corner by Cole Sprouse, and they did the best they could with, some 5-hour energy and one night to write a whole script.
And at least the dinner that we're coming up on is great.
Yes. We've got FP under the Cooper roof, and Alice is as subtle as ever.
Yeah. She's basically asking the equivalent of, so when did you stop beating your wife every other minute?
Yeah, because she's like, oh, how is it being a Southside Serpent and taking bribe money and things like that? Also, could you pass the peas?
After you kill a teenager, where do you hide the gun?
It's super uncomfortable and everything that Betty was afraid of, and I don't know why Betty didn't pull the plug on this sooner, or why no one stormed out.
She did think of a clever way to turn the tables, though.
Yes. And this was...
Yes.
I think we all saw this coming as soon as there was a knock at the door.
Yes. But it's still beautiful to see Hal come in. He can actually, with fear and trepidation in his eyes, are you sure she's okay with this? Will I make it out alive?
I was hoping the knock on the door was Sheriff Keller. He's going to come in and be like, hey, got any leads?
But yeah, it was Hal Cooper instead, and I feel like his dialogue and actions in this scene really reflect that karaoke performance that was cut from the last episode. He seems extremely bitter and vindictive, and he's really hurt by Alice.
To be fair, she did threaten to throw a brick at his head during dinner, which was an amazing Alice moment.
That was so good, where he's just telling FB, he's like,
You see, Alice here, she's been redecorating the register. And the other day, she threw a brick through the window. That's so.
Keep talking, Hal, and the next brick I throw may not be at a window.
next time I'm gonna throw it at you.
I mean, she hardly ever gets through a dinner without threatening to throw a brick at someone's head, so what are you gonna do?
Yeah, that's like saying grace in the Cooper family.
It is. And Betty covers this all up by saying, it's homecoming after all. Our families should be coming together. Sweetie, I think you've completely misunderstood what homecoming is.
Although that does raise the question, like, why is this interrogation happening the same night as homecoming?
No idea. That gives them less time to pull all of this off.
Good a time as ever, and FP kind of starts revealing something which has been hinted at before, where he says that back when Alice and Hal won Homecoming King and Queen, that he overheard them in the midst of an argument that was, quote, life or death, and it kind of goes back to like this forced abortion plotline thing that was the reason Alice kicked Hal out of the house in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, but without that background, what a weird story to tell. Like, a teenage couple was fighting at a school dance. Cool story, bro.
I find it really hard to believe Hal or Alice could win, like, any popularity contest. Like, Alice is the meanest person in the world, and Hal is a spineless jellyfish. Like, neither seem like a person people would want to, like, be friends with.
Obviously, she used threats and bribery.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with that, because apparently she was always this evil, according to Molly Ringwald, when they bump into each other in the bathroom, where she's like, "Oh, Alice, you were always a raging bitch." I may be paraphrasing, rewriting the dialogue. Feel free to hit me up, Riverdale writers. There's more where that came from.
Anyway, Polly, in a cutaway, asks Mrs. Blossom about the ring rather than going straight to the police. And Penelope just like, "It was so horrible, my baby is dead." Those are enough tears. Terminate subroutine B12. Now drink your roofie milkshake. It'll be delicious.
Yeah, she gives her another milkshake after she's like, "Oh, nothing's gone forever except my dead-ass son." And then Polly, being as stupid as Archie, drinks the milkshake in the creepy manner handed to you by an insane person. And then the later scene, she can't make it to the homecoming dance because she's too drugged. Like, she's just knocked out. I don't know if we want to get into this right now.
Yeah, let's just finish it off here.
Here's the thing. Like, Penelope explains it away as being an all-natural relaxer, but later Cheryl has to check if Polly's breathing by holding a mirror like under her nose.
Yeah, Penelope did not give Polly like melatonin or something. Valerian. This was
just ketamine.
She drugged her.
Yeah, it's really weird. And to what end? Let me ask that. What was the point of drugging the girl so she couldn't go to the homecoming dance?
Well, if it actually is a roofie, she'll likely lose her memory of what came before.
Okay, well, I learned something new about what crazy people do. I need to listen to more true crime podcasts.
Really
I don't know it's from true crime. I just know it from the 4th season of Arrested Development, where they explain how, you know, Rohypnol really interferes with your brain's ability to convert memories while you're asleep. So,
like short-term memory to long-term memory?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I learn something new every day. I was just like, why are they drugging this girl? They really don't want her to go to the homecoming dance.
Yeah.
But before the homecoming dance and during the dinner that FP was over at the Cooper home, Veronica and Archie are breaking into FP's trailer.
A B&E with A and V, as you've titled it.
Yes. And
Archie is wearing his jacket that Cliff got him from the Red Suit Emporium.
Oh.
And I'm just so touched. Like, his feelings for Cliff are so real. It's beautiful.
I still love the guy. We went deep sea fishing. You can't take the memories away.
Can't.
Not without a milkshake, at least.
Absolutely not.
Hey, as the worm turns.
Oh, is that what it's about? It's about drugging teens.
It is now. I don't know. So they break in.
Yeah, nothing really happens. They just don't find anything.
Yeah, that's what it is.
It's all it is. And it's a lot of screen time for finding nothing.
And then they make out for some reason. Like Veronica and Archie, who last episode they were making out and we're like, okay, yeah, they're going to be together. We had this sort of false drama for 5 minutes where Veronica tried to resist Archie, which, as we know, no woman can do.
Impossible.
I will say, though, Veronica looks fabulous in her black mink breaking and entering stole that she's wearing.
Mm-hmm.
Here's the other thing about this scene that I didn't realize until a second watch. I don't feel like I'm spoiling anything by skipping ahead and saying, at the end of this episode, we find out that someone planted a gun in FP's trailer, and he gets arrested for Jason Blossom's murder. Veronica and Archie have to rush out of this trailer after they've searched it and did not see the gun, but they have to leave because FP's on his way back. So whoever was there to frame FP, were they just like waiting outside the trailer like, when are these kids gonna fucking leave? Was it like they punched out and he was coming up the stairs and he punched in and he's like, all right, have a good night, my turn now.
Like Archie and Veronica practically ran into him on the stairs.
He's just lying on the roof of the trailer.
Yeah.
Waiting.
The guy who was waiting to frame was probably like, He had a 3-minute window to do this in.
It's pretty crazy.
Also, we discover that Archie and Veronica, because they were there and saw that the gun was not present in the trailer when they were there, they know that he was framed. Basically, the moral of this story is breaking and entering is always the right thing to do.
Yes.
I think that's an important takeaway from all of this.
Hey, it's never gone wrong in this show. Whether they broke into a locker at school, Miss Grundy's parked car, or FP's home, it's always turned out well.
If breaking and entering were wrong, why would it be in the Nancy Drew detective manual? Huh?
See?
Answer me that. So finishing off the Cheryl stuff, she's like, whoa, why'd you drug Polly? And they're like, don't worry, we're definitely not guilty. By the way, want to be our heir now? That'll throw you off our trail, right? And Cheryl's like, duh, I want all the power.
Yeah, they were like, oh, you're heartless enough.
And Cheryl lies saying she flushed the engagement ring, which she obviously did not, but...
Yeah, I think we all saw that coming.
Yeah.
And then we go to the homecoming dance. And since we're on Cheryl, at the homecoming dance, all Cheryl does is like stand around and then she cries and runs away in tears. And to this day, and this will be my last thought before I'm tucked into the fucking grave. Why was she so upset and crying? And why did she run away from the homecoming dance?
Maybe someone told her that the red dress she was wearing wasn't really Viridian.
But, like, was there a character reason? Was it just because Polly was drugged?
Okay, so I actually looked this up because I was baffled too. Apparently, what is supposed to be happening is that she has picked up on the chemistry between Archie and Veronica and is now upset that Archie is with a new woman that is not her. None of that came across.
I totally got that.
I thought that might be it, but it seemed like a little bit of a stretch.
I mean, it was silly, but I definitely, that was, to me, the reason.
Was there, a shot that got that across? Because I swear to God, none of it came through to me.
I thought she was just crying because she's like, why would this song talk about East California?
For our listeners at home, Sarah shook her head at my question. She doesn't know.
No, that was a shake of the head, men. Just come on. The subtleties of social communication.
There are no
lost.
subtleties in this show. Come on.
I think the thing is, from my perspective, that was hard to read because to me, Archie is so undesirable.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm like, why would Cheryl be upset that he's moved on? Because he's a fucking dipshit.
Well, there are a lot of
reasons.
reasons.
But he looks like her brother, so...
That makes it... Yeah, what? Oh!
There are a lot of reasons it's confusing. I texted this to you in absolute fury, Hunter, about the number of times I rewatched the scene where she walks away and the camera suddenly cuts dramatically to a sweeping overhead shot of her stepping over the Riverdale seal, and I'm like, well, what is the meaning of the shot? What is it trying to reveal? And it's nothing. It's just oh, I think the shot will look cool.
Yeah, that's a lot of this stuff. No, I'm still stuck on Sarah saying that Archie reminds her of her brother. And my perspective, I have 2 sisters. I couldn't even go out with a girl who had the same name as one of my sisters because that would creep me out.
Well, you're not a Blossom, clearly.
Apparently.
I get it, Hunter. Sarah and my mom have the same middle name, and that gave me pause for a second too, before I was like, wait, that's probably too crazy.
Doesn't even really come up.
Yeah.
No.
Oh, it comes up.
Middle names are just these vestigial things that who needs a middle name?
No one.
But what I'm saying is I get the name thing.
I mean, maybe I'll cut some of that stuff out since it's not really germane to what we're doing here on the podcast.
Speaking of not really germane, Kevin exists, and he's there at the dance. Betty goes up and is like, hey, have you seen Veronica and Archie? Oh, never mind, they're there. Don't say anything.
He gets a couple lines later, but it's still weird non sequitur stuff where he's there with Joaquin and talking about oh, I've never had a boyfriend before. And I was kind of like, you're 15 or 16 years old, one of the only gay kids in a small town. It doesn't seem like it'd be that strange.
Right.
I didn't date at all during high school, so that doesn't seem crazy to me. Meanwhile, Kevin's also I've hooked up tons of times, dozens of times. You should see all the closeted encounters I've had.
Yeah. That one time with Moose and Well, I guess that was really it. But...
Though I do want to note that Joaquin looks like he was done up to resemble like John Travolta in Pulp Fiction.
Oh yeah, the hair slicked back.
Yeah.
Everyone's arriving at the dance. Jughead has a little talk with his dad because he's dropping Betty and Jughead off. And Jughead wants to move back in with his dad, who then says, we're going to move to Ohio.
Yeah, and I think we all can predict what's going to come next. Everyone's going to move to Ohio, and the show will be renamed Toledo.
It's actually kind of a cooler name.
Yeah, I mean, it's almost too obvious.
So, season 2, Toledo. And, actually, they can make it a pun. Toledo.
Oh.
Wow,
Get Jared Leto to be in it.
That's both a terrible pun and way better than Riverdale could manage.
But no, Jughead's obviously conflicted because if he stayed behind in Riverdale, he would get to keep dating Betty, who is wonderful, but then he would miss out on reuniting with his family.
And the wonder of Toledo.
Hey, Northern Ohio is great every time of year. Yeah, they show up at the dance. Veronica and Archie bust in.
As does Luke Perry with his girlfriend and his wife, one on each arm.
Oh, Luke Perry's killing it.
And this is where we learn that Molly Ringwald doesn't know that polyamorous is a word. Get with the times, Malls.
She thinks it just means that like someone's really into Polly, because that's a character on this show. Oh no, Mary, I'm not really looking at your daughter. Besides, I think somebody got there before me. Zing!
And yes, I am shaming your slut of a daughter. That's what they call it when sluts get shamed. Shame slutting. No, Mary, you really need to read Urban Dictionary.
That's just how the worm turns. That's my new favorite saying. But yeah, Alice confronts Molly Ringwald in the bathroom and is like, Luke Perry was banging Hermione. And Molly Ringwald's like real into that. Because she just says like, I'm going to have fun with both my dates. So this night's going to go extremely well for all parties.
Look, Alice, I've been trying to open up our marriage for years. Like, that's what this has all been about. Like, Fred's not enough on his own. I have needs too.
So yeah, Luke Perry is doing great. Archie and Veronica show up and immediately start talking to Alice, which is crazy suspicious, and Betty notices they're conniving.
Yeah, how on earth did Betty pick up on the subtleties of, oh, we just have to talk to your mom for a second, then go play on stage?
Okay, so we've had previous performances on this show, and they all seemed like there was preparation behind them. But this episode, it seems like Archie and Veronica run in, there's no sound check, no vocal warm-ups, like 3 seconds later they're on stage singing.
And that was how it sounded as well. It went on a long time. I was just sitting there like, oh yes, please show me this entire musical number. That is what I want.
It was weird too, because it's not like it had any thematic or plot relevance, and it wasn't a great cover.
Nope.
They just picked Kids in America as a song. They auto-tuned the heck out of the vocals. I wish that they had auto-tuned Hal's karaoke in last episode so it didn't sound so bad, because they clearly have that capability. The thing is Veronica still a member of the Pussycats or not?
Unclear.
Okay.
Well, she can't be because she doesn't want to be a murderer.
Oh, yeah.
So
they're suspect number 1.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, maybe she's not, since she wasn't at, like, the All Hail Riverdale opening, but, like, I wouldn't put it past the show to just forget that she is a pussycat and then bring it back up next season for no reason.
That sounds like Riverdale, yeah.
It's just, the whole performance is just so Veronica and Archie can, like, get real cozy on stage and basically parade around the fact that they're hooking up.
Yeah, meanwhile, FP gets arrested during this montage, but more importantly, Luke Perry and Molly Ringwald say like, so they together? And Luke Perry's like, duh, did you not see that amazing chemistry our capable acting students have learned? And Molly Ringwald said, oh, you Andrews men are such players. And that really made me think, because I think I brought this up before, the show Gilmore Girls, and that line just kind of reminded me of something that might be from that show. And so I did some digging, and I guessed it was actually kind of a purposeful reference. There's actually a promo on the CW that cuts together a trailer for this episode in the style of like a Gilmore Girls episode. So Hunter, if you could play that for us.
Sure thing.
On an all-new CW Thursday, it's homecoming week at Riverdale.
This homecoming is also a reunion weekend.
And you'll never guess who's coming home.
Archie, the reason why I came.
You came because of the divorce.
Things heat up between Archie and Veronica.
We had a moment. Beautiful but fleeting moment.
You spent the night.
And Fred has 2 dates to the dance.
I always like to have a beautiful woman on my arm. Tonight I have 2.
I didn't realize that you were a polyamorous.
But will Jughead's family life get in the way of his future with Betty?
It's time the whole family gets back together. Us, Mom, Jellybean.
Riverdale, all new Thursday. Nothing's going to stop these kids in America.
Yeah, since I've been watching this show on Netflix, I don't get to see the promos. I'm glad that the CW is still putting high production value into promotions for upcoming episodes.
Yeah.
I don't think they're as good as the old WB ones, though. Those were epic. I don't know if you guys remember, but they were great.
Doesn't have Michigan J Frog, then I refuse to watch a WB promo.
Fair.
I think we all feel that way.
Quick aside, you guys know that the phrase is actually "the worm is turned," right?
No.
Okay. Because you're referencing it like you've never heard it before, but it's like a real thing.
I know it's a real thing. It's just also silly and we don't know what it means.
I have no idea what it means. I've heard it a handful of times. I just think it's good to sprinkle in conversation.
I assume it's like a phrase of good luck to like gymnasts as they like make their way on the Olympic stage. Like, turn like that worm, huh?
Worms are famously known for their pivoting skills.
They're quite flexible. I think you'll agree.
I'm going to have to do like real research on the etymology.
Go down a little wormhole.
Oh my God.
And you hated Betty's Boo, Homecoming Warrior.
Yes, I did.
Sarah, you only like puns when they're your puns, don't you?
Well, she is
That's
better
correct.
at it than I am.
No, I can appreciate a really good pun.
Yeah, we just haven't delivered any up to your standards yet.
I feel like you have both had a couple.
You're the undisputed ruler of puns on this podcast. We can agree on that.
I appreciate that.
So, as we were saying before we took our aside for the promo, Archie and Veronica are performing. FP gets a warrant served and has his trailer searched, and Sheriff Keller finds a gun in there, which, why was he arrested for Jason Blossom's murder instead of just having an unlicensed firearm? Like, we don't know that was the gun that was used in the murder, right?
We really don't.
We don't even know if he has a gun license. He could.
Yeah.
Potentially.
It seems like a gang member would probably get a gun license.
Yeah, I thought the weirdest part of the whole, like, police searching everything, Archie and Veronica searching his whole trailer, is that he really had nothing cool in there. Like, nothing at all illicit or interesting. Feels like he would have had drugs and, like, some good porn. Old vintage porn collection. I don't know, like, something cool.
Boner Jam 99.
Exactly.
It's all just, like, drawn up travel expenses for moving to Toledo.
So, Betty confronts Archie and Veronica and finds out that they were doing Alice's bidding, like, behind her back. Jughead walks in on them and gets very upset, and for some reason gets mad at Betty that Archie and Veronica
it's
did
the
something.
Same stupid shit from the last episode of like, I don't know if I can trust you. Stop just repeating lines from the previous episode, Riverdale. Ugh.
Which is,
yeah,
it didn't seem justified for Jughead to get mad at Betty. She didn't know that they were doing the breaking and entering stuff.
I mean, she could have told Jughead, hey, my mom's being really weird about this, but I get why she didn't.
Mm-hmm.
Cut her some slack. She has a dark side.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Jughead gets all upset. They find out that FP was arrested for the murder of Jason Blossom.
Kevin just randomly walks in like, hey guys, did you know that your dad got arrested?
Quick update. I just checked Cheryl's Twitter and found out.
Hashtag Jughead's dad is arrested.
Hashtag Doug jail.
And Jughead runs off into the night. Well, FP is dragged to jail, where I assume he's gonna pull a Jeffrey Epstein.
Get murdered by the Clintons?
Yes.
I'm joking, podcast listeners. There are tons of powerful people who could have murdered him. It doesn't have to be the Clintons necessarily.
I mean,
Like, wouldn't have been them personally anyway, so,
Yeah.
like, you know.
yeah, someone at their behest.
Yeah.
Someone else is turning that worm.
But yeah, and so the episode ends with Betty being like, I know, he's at Pop's, but he's not. But Archie and Veronica are, and like, Betty, we know FP was set up in the least surprising twist of the episode.
Also, go to the police. Like, why aren't you at the police station?
There is only one thing I liked about this episode, and you skipped right over it, Kevin.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's very small. Like, there's not a lot to like here, but Alice is talking to Betty, and she's all, oh, I'm so glad you're done with Jughead. And then Betty's like, I love him. And it was, I don't know, it was sweet, and it touched my heart.
I totally forgot Alice spoke again after the dinner scene.
We know Betty's real serious about Jughead. And I don't, like, she was just real cute to him for this whole episode. And
her crying scene was pretty effective too. Like, I hate how that whole thing came up, but like, at least it was emotional and I felt her pain there.
Yeah, she and Jughead both did a really good job with the acting. They continue to be the strongest young performers on the show.
yes, I'm going to make like a crying counter. I'm going to clip together every scene where Lily Reinhart cries in the first season of Riverdale, just so we can see that it's, I think so far, just from like thinking back, all but one episode she's cried.
I mean, she's very arresting when she cries because her eyes are like basketballs. And so it's really something to see.
It's like, I just imagine like buoys bursting up out of the Pacific Ocean as the image of her crying. I think the best way to roll this episode together is FP's being framed for murder, Jughead is missing, Betty loves Jughead. That's all that happened in this episode.
Yeah, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
And Cheryl didn't flush the ring she said she had, and she sees her parents talking about how FP was arrested. Penelope seems to think FP's the killer. Cliff Blossom is unmoved, leading me to believe 100% that he orchestrated all of this.
Yeah, there's almost not a point to making predictions at this point because it's so obvious Blossom did it, and Cliff is just ticking off every box in this episode. Like, it's legitimately hard to believe anyone else could be at this point. And even if it was, like, it feels like it would be unsatisfying after how clearly they're kind of hinting at him.
Yes. It'd be really odd. It'd be a bait and switch if it was someone else.
It is going to be a bait and switch because that's how the worm turns.
How long have you had that one ready?
Since 2 seconds ago when he said bait and switch.
Yeah, I have no other predictions. Hunter, you?
I was just saying that I'm going to time it. Jughead is found within the first 45 seconds of the next episode.
Yeah.
Like, that whole thing of, like, we can't find Jughead's going to dissipate. The only other prediction I have is that the director of this episode will never work in Hollywood again.
I mean, you think that now, but Michael Bay still gets work.
True. But I feel like even, like, discussing this has been tough and disjointed just because of how the episode was. So,
yeah.
If someone was to say, hey, what should be the first episode I listen to of your podcast? I would say don't listen to the one about season 1, episode 11 of Riverdale, because that was a rough go.
Let's just give scores now.
Yes.
Half a worm turning. Yeah, this episode had hardly anything. I don't anticipate giving an episode this low of a score or lower of a score ever again.
Yeah, I'm giving it a fuck you and a 0. I've been trying to tone down my rage, but a lot of my notes were just like me mocking characters and just saying this is so fucking stupid. Like when Hermione walks in to the homecoming dance and she says, well, it's no Met Ball, which is exactly what Veronica said in episode 1. Like, and she referenced the Met Ball twice, and I was like, stop with the fucking Met Ball references. So it's just like a really aggressive all caps notes, and me wishing death upon characters. So
What kind of jerk goes into like a high school homecoming and is like, it's not the Met Ball.
It's not Sir Elton John's Oscar party.
The next time I go to like a child's birthday party, I'll be like, it's not exactly one of Queen Elizabeth's soirees now, is it?
It's no Vanity Fair Golden Globes presentation. So I hated this episode. I can't see any of the remaining episodes for this season being this bad at all. Sarah, please tell me there's not room to go further down.
I don't think so. And my rating for this episode, by the way, would be the half of a roofie milkshake you drink before you fall asleep.
That's good. My cringe line for this episode, I think it's pretty obvious. To me, I don't think the question is who done it. I think the real question is whether Riverdale is a place of good or a place of darkness and evil.
Mine was, yay, though I walk through the valley of darkness, and Archie Andrews is there with a smile and a sports metaphor.
That was on my list. That was bad. Ugh.
So bad.
I had a couple.
Hunter, bring us in with that final turn of the worm.
Let's see. I had Jughead saying off to a late night rendezvous with a certain raven-haired princess, which is what I say to my friends all the time about the girls they're dating. And
it's like a bad fanfic line.
It is.
Ugh.
You know, Cole Sprouse had it coming after he demanded all those rewrites. And then Veronica said, we had a moment, a beautiful but fleeting moment. Like she's reminiscing about their like fucking transatlantic cruise.
Yeah, you guys drunkenly made out at a party. Like that's not exactly the most beautiful or fleeting of moments.
Yeah. And then let's see. Cheryl said, oh, Pollykins, which I could just stop there. It's already cringy. But she goes on to, it's much more fun being friends than mortal enemies. Again, something people say. The cringiest moment was still Archie invading Veronica's personal space in the empty classroom. Just made me super uncomfortable.
I also feel like we've firmly established that for Cheryl, being mortal enemies is more fun.
Yeah. I don't think she had any good intentions. Because wasn't she crossing out Polly's face in a previous episode?
Yeah, and none of that came to play in this episode.
Maybe the red marker represents milkshake roofies.
Archie's got one coming.
Archie has one coming.
Or maybe it really is what you guessed, Sarah. Maybe it's just like, no, red is a color of passion and of her liking her.
Exactly.
I think that's the reason why Cheryl crying at the dance didn't come across to me. Because I was like, oh, the thing at the end of the episode where Cheryl crosses Archie's face out of the picture symbolized that she was just saw him as evil incarnate now, and she wanted to watch his life burn. And I felt like she had spiritually moved on from being attracted to him.
This show is very confusing if you have a memory slightly longer than a goldfish's, because then you have no idea why things are happening the way they are, because they just do not progress logically.
Yeah. Thank you for listening to Gritty Reboot. Make sure to subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts or Spotify or wherever else you're listening to us, and let people know about the podcast because it really helps us grow. In the meantime, you can reach us on Twitter at GrittyRebootPod or by email at grittyrebootpodcast@gmail.com. And we'll be posting some updates to our website at grittyrebootpodcast.com.
Next week, we'll be watching Riverdale Chapter 12, Anatomy of a Murderer. And hopefully it starts to bring us in for the finale, which is episode 13, because we need to get back on track.
Yes.
The title is promising.
Yes. I love anatomy.
And
I like
murder.
multiple atomies for the record. Sarah's making a face that lets me know that if she had just rated that wordplay, it would have been about as low as this episode.